Hello everyone and welcome back to Beyond the Veil background information. We're doing a Demons and Angels profile, and as I said, we're going to get through all the Dukes of Hell before I do any more angels, because these are relevant to the story, the Duchess of Hell, that I'm doing in my little episodes on YouTube and in the recordings for you. So nearly all of them will have some kind of part, except for a few that I'm doing other things with. But so we've already done enthusiasts. So today we're going to talk about Agares. Okay, so as usual, I'll give you a quote from when they turn up in one story, and then I'll give you the background information I have, which will be small because most of these are only coming from one source, which is the Asgardia, the Lesser Key of Solomon, and then I'll give you my profile that I've made for them as a character, because a lot of that will be, my own build them up and putting them in this whole story thing. So I hope you can understand, and yeah, so we'll get on with it. So, oh, my pastime is catching runaways, if I'm asked. My darling crocodiles have always been good at finding others. That's something I may not have a child offer. That's something I may not have a child to offer, but I can give you a pet. Crocodiles might be a little unsightly out there, so a Chinese crocodile lizard, my wedding present. Quote from Duchess of Hell. The demon Agares, also spelled Agares and Agarat, is a demon in the Asgardia, also called the Lesser Key of Solomon, that actually has a few mentions in varying grimoires and two separate descriptions. He is also a little more known in fiction, with my own favourite being inspired by him being Agares in Welcome to Demon School Irumachan, which actually uses some of the abilities attributed to this figure in an interesting way. So as for the meaning of the name, that's still a question. A lot of the demonic names in Asgardia don't always seem to have an etymology that can really be attributed to it. So Agares appears in the Agares also appears in the Pseudo-Monarchia Daemonum, the Livre de Espirites, and the Book of Office Spirits, the Grimoire of Pope Honorius, and the Grand Grimoire, not to mention, of course, the Dictionnaire Infernal. So he's actually in quite a lot, with the obvious name variants. On the whole, he's deemed a Duke of Hell, with some quibbling over the amount of demons he has, with our preferred sources claiming 31 legions, others claiming 36. He is also deemed as linked to power in the east, and is thought to be the enemy of the angel Jalil. Now, as for descriptions and powers, these can vary with the sources. Many preferred sources and the Dictionnaire Infernal have him as an old man riding upon a crocodile and bearing a hawk upon his fists. Some change his crocodile to a cockatrice, or even to a dragon, and often forgetting the hawk. There are some that link him to carrying a viper as well, but that's more than likely where the character is getting mixed up with others. As for powers, the main sources state he can bestow titles, cause earthquakes, teaches language, retrieves runaway people, and can grant noble titles. There are others that have linked his power more to the earth, and specifically to treasure. This seems to come from Sloan MS 3824. I know I'm quoting from the Wikipedia page here. And their use of Agares in order to summon spirits that guard treasures. Back to Asgardia, Agares is actually the second demon that is summoned by Solomon, and it is believed that he was originally from the Order of Virtues. I would also suggest there's an interesting article in the sources from Solitary Morrigan where they describe some symbolism they gained from the crocodile, serpent, and hawk that have him linked to punishing and nature. There are also some other thoughts in more modern demonology, though. In modern demonology thought that also link him as a nature spirit with a more benevolent streak than other demons in the listing. Certainly Agares has an unusual representation as one of those demons that can be of more use to the summoner and is much more congenial. But when it comes to demons, the general understanding is the respective rank and ability rank and ability will give it back in return. I have been thinking very carefully about him for my stories, and with the fact that Crocodile Man is shared with Duke Salius, I had a funny thought to connect them from that and make Agares the reptile enthusiast down in hell. Just don't ask him about demonic crocodile morphs. It's het lavender and white side, this and that. A little herb tease there. So name Agares, position Duke of Hell, story featured in Duchess of Hell, role helper, rare for poor Oleander. Gender male, description Agares most often appears in the form of a feeble old man who seems to keep forgetting where he put his teeth and tends to speak like he's lost his trail of thought, but is testing people's results. He often appears with a crocodile he rides, although they change often, and he also has a hawk and occasionally a snake of different kinds, and the hawk is usually carrying his false teeth. So realm hell abilities: Agares is great with reptiles, great with nature, and is usually in charge of making the crocodile and dragon mounts of hell, as well as taking care of snakes when they come visiting for hibernation just for a chat. Snakes got discs, so the demons look after them because the world is mean to them. With this, he can cause earthquakes and create tunnels to lead to hell and earth, and control who travels within them. He also has the power over all languages, can grant people the ability to be kings, although not necessarily the ability to rule. Master Lucifer, personality generally friendly and benevolent, but with a very wicked sense of humour and a love of testing people's patience and resolve. But he also rewards good behaviour and respect, and is very keen on reptiles. He's overly keen. He's overly keen on his herping and will occasionally be seen on the surface, gathering up a few reptiles and amphibians and chatting away with them. If you like reptiles and keep them well, he might just generally be nice, and a lot of people have confused this as him being benevolent or good with nature. Relations: Salios. Agares does not have too many close friends, but Salios' affection for frogs and his own desire for a crocodile mount means they both got to talking all about the reptiles and the amphibians and grew very close to one another. Agares nicknames him his brother because they both also take the form of elder men and even gives him pet snakes. Lucifer. Lucifer's love and respect of snakes after the mix-up caused by Asmodee and the term serpent meant that Lucifer gave Agares the job to ensure that the snakes would always have a safe place to hibernate or stay warm during the hardest times, and had good lives if they died and were sent to hell. It happens in some circumstances. And so Agares and Lucifer are close because they both believe there should be more love for the poor reptiles. Oleander. He actually becomes a really close friend and assistant for Oleander, and though he can't give her a crocodile, he finds other reptiles she can have at home to help protect her from the troubling things happening in her life. He knows she really cares about animals, and he's also quite interested in her works, and is a very willing patron to her in hell. History. Though some might assume he was perhaps of the Order of Virtues due to his patient and calm demeanour, Agares is actually one of the angels of the elements who created caves and tunnels through the rock of the world, and created the earthquakes needed to urge mountains upwards and move the crust. Agares is very happy with it all, and there's an extra bonus to working on the earth and being patient with it. That is, that he gets to see the evolution of amphibians and his favourite things, reptiles. Through the various ages of the world, he adores the development of the reptiles and even the dinosaurs, but his favourite things are the giant crocodiles that eat anything and actually like him going and patting their heads. He adores them, and then when the meteor hits, he's struck with so much woe that he ends up sitting in heaven moping with no one quite able to cheer him up. It's obvious that he has been wounded, and the others can't quite make him happy, and the only one that seems to care is Lucifer, who asks him what's wrong, and upon understanding, guides him to see the reptiles that remain, and the new blooming snakes that Agares loves. Agares is initially involved in the chaos going on in heaven. Agares is not involved in the chaos going on in heaven until he learns that there is a place called Eden, where all the animals of yesteryear also exist. He requests to go and visit his favourite beings, but is told that it is not his place, and they are not for his pleasure, and so when Agares is stunned, he hears Lucifer's talks, and he feels his frustration connecting up with the complaints and fuss of the others. Lucifer makes sense, and so Agares joins him in battle, and actually ends up being quite the effective fighter, facing and knocking many angels down before fighting with Jalal. The pair of them locked in until Lucifer is beaten down and Agares submits willingly for removal, insisting at least in hell he can have what he wants. Indeed, in hell, Agares is weakened and his body shrinks to that of a feeble elder being, meaning he could not climb up to become a king of hell, but instead he climbs up in time to be a duke of hell. Upon becoming a duke of hell, Lucifer then gives him permission to create demonic creatures, and thus Agares makes as many reptiles and amphibians as possible, including the giant ones, and though and through this he finally makes a friend with Celios in giving him a reptile mount. Agares, though, gets a real shock, like many of them do, when Lucifer's attempt to get back at Eden was to send Asmodee in the form of a serpent, not a snake, to tempt them. The sudden expulsion of all snakes from Eden shocks the demons of hell, and so Lucifer, seeing this as even more proof of how cruel the Almighty can be, unaware it is the angels that do so, summons Agares to create pathways to allow snakes to be able to find safety in their world. Find safety in the world. Agares loves this and then becomes very keen on all things herpetology and adores them all, giving them safety in hell whenever they really need it. So final comments. So yes, I went rather unique on a tangent with this fellow and turned him into a reptile lover, and I suppose that's also a reflection of my own love of reptiles. But it just works so well for the story and what I've been playing with him. So I hope you found that interesting, and thank you for listening.